What does learning mean to you, and what does unlearning?
Thank you, Vilma. Huge question, too. There are many definitions of what learning is. One I really like, which is quite simple, is making new connections in our brain that allow us to understand the world differently. That gives us another mental model, that gives us another filter to make sense of the complex world around us. That's like a definition I like, and that's pretty functional, helping to do things with it. You kind of learn it in an opinion. Have you noticed how sometimes certain words or concepts become trendy? Now people say, no, to learn new things, you have to unlearn everything before. Please don't unlearn. These things are dangerous. As I think I've already mentioned, human knowledge is associative. Humans learn. Comparing the new or associating what we want to learn with what we already know. We often use the metaphor of the mind as a computer. It works for some things, but for others, it fails miserably. Like in this case, on the computer. The more data you add, the less memory you have left. And you have to buy more cloud memory or change the computer or delete old files. Not sure if it ever happened to you. In the mind, it doesn't work like that. In the mind, we learn by associating with what we already have. So there's a little paradox. In most cases, the more we know, the more we can learn, which is the opposite of what happens to the computer. So, if we unlearn, where will we hold on to? We can't go back to being children because we have all our baggage, which is what allows us to keep learning if we were to unlearn reading.
We can't read the new things we
Let's
want.
learn. Then it's dangerous to spread these facts and use a word that sounds very pretty, and we apply it indiscriminately. Yes, there are times when, let me tell you about 2 cases where it's worth unlearning. One has many built-in biases. If one has many filters that allow them to see the world in one way, but obstruct the view in another, sometimes it's good to remove those filters. To look with the mind of a child naively and face that problem as if it were the first time. It's not unlearning, but rather saying, let's try to put aside those filters that I already have. To understand the problem in a fresh new way. Even naive, because that allows us to ask the right questions, which we wouldn't otherwise. And there's another very specific case about unlearning, which I experienced firsthand because I was trying to learn to play a song on the piano.
No, yes, I can't play the piano.
But there's a song I became obsessed with, and I want to learn to play it. I downloaded YouTube videos showing how to play it on the piano and started doing just that. Until I hit my limit with YouTube videos and couldn't progress further, and I still didn't like how it sounded, and I got myself a piano teacher.
And the cinta tells me to see how far it tells me.
It's complicated. Are you struggling? Because you don't know how to play the piano, first of all. But the second thing is that you're told that the chords you played with your left hand were played with the wrong fingers. And when I saw that on YouTube, I didn't think about which fingers to use for each chord.
With the left hand.
And tells me, if you keep that fingering, which is the technical term for saying which fingers press each key, if you keep that fingering, it's going to make it very hard to play the next chord because your hand can jump from one to the other. You're going to have to, Walter, my piano teacher said, you're going to have to unlearn that fingering and do it correctly to keep moving forward. And that's going to take effort. It's harder than learning the right typing from scratch. Unlearning in that sense can be significant. Or, when Djokovic, I don't know if you remember, Novak Djokovic, the tennis player, initially, his serve involved throwing the ball very high. Very, very tall. And then he would hit it. And after a few years, when he was among the world's top players, his coach, he said, we need to improve your serve. And for that, you will have to unlearn. How to start practicing from a young age, not throwing the ball too high, something Rafael Nadal had to work on similarly. In those cases, yes, but they are specific cases. In most cases, please don't unlearn. Try to make the most of what you know because it will empower you to learn more. Thank you, Wilma.